what shall we talk about? You just, begin it like, the bad guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember that, So what shall we talk about? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. I'm Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans. Name of the program, Tri-City Sports Now. We own the Tri-Cities on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio because I've got the best guests and the hardest-hitting opinions in the market. For instance, today, normally we're joined by Jerry Bonkowski talking NASCAR, but the race was delayed, rain delay. 5 p.m. it goes off in Michigan. What is it? The Firecrackers Casino 400. There's the Firestarters Casino 400. And it's going off today, 5 o'clock. Chance to go home, watch the race. That's kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching the Braves come from behind to beat the Marlins. Who doesn't? We've got a thought on modern baseball strategy. Of course, there's so many things. The Blues had the chance to win the Stanley Cup, and they blew it. I'm sorry. You had, what else we got here? David Ortiz, Big Papi, has been shot in the Dominican Republic. Because it's not, what kind of, this is about commentary and opinion. I can tell you that I've been around in working in minor league baseball, many people from the Dominican Republic but I don't know who shot the man. Big Papi has lost a lot of his digestive system. He's in intensive care. But the reports are he's, out of the life-threatening stage. At least that's what his family says. So that's a good thing. Let's see here. You've got the Let Them Play. I might do a media watch today. But no, Jerry Bonkowski, we're pushing him until tomorrow. That's when we're going to talk to Jerry Bonkowski at 1. And, of course, we also have the Asian House. They're closed today, unfortunately. So... but the Asian House Vols Talk with Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com. And he joins us tomorrow at 12:30. But for today, it's SoCon John Hooper. We'll spend the last half hour with him. Not only as will we talk about who the new SoCon commissioner is, who you heard here, Jim Schaus. And if you didn't hear it, why don't you log on and find it in our archives on the 1420 WEMB Sports Radio video page. We are only 9 likes away. Only 9 follows, but only 9 follows away from being the most followed sports radio station in the market. And there are 3 of them. Plus whoever else, covers a ball game here or there and all that. All those stations that cover the all sports radio stations. And we'll have, with 9 more followers, the most followers of any sports radio station in the market. That's really incredible when you consider, well, first of all, when you consider the signal. Everybody comes out and they say, hey, the signal, we can't get the station in Flag Pond. Well, at night, no, you can't. Unless you're online. jetbroadcasting.live, and of course I put this show on Facebook so you can see this handsome face of mine, but also so that you can be able to watch Tri-City Sports Now or listen to Tri-City Sports Now whenever you like. And Vols fans won't like what I have to say right now. I have entitled Marky's monologue today as... Why is Vanderbilt kicking the Vols' ass? Yeah, that's not clickbait or anything. Somewhat, yeah. When has that ever happened? And you know what? It is happening. Because, we had big sports weekend. Not just because Madison Bumgarner gets angry at a guy hitting a home run off of him and all this. But no. You had that. You had Women's World Cup. You had the French Open. I kind of watched a little bit of, and I'm not a big tennis fan, but I was just, this is kind of intriguing. I don't know why. Stanley Cup, NBA Finals, and what seemed to be getting as much attention, at least around these here parts, as any of that, and it warmed my heart because, I'm a baseball guy. Kumar Rocker got an awful lot of attention. He's the freshman at Vanderbilt. ace of the Commodore staff, really lived up to his player-to-watch hype. A lot of people are saying he pitched on Saturday the greatest game in college baseball history. He no-hit Duke, fanned 19 batters, 3-0. Vanderbilt was on the brink of elimination. Instead, they beat Duke 3-0. The next day, they beat the Blue Devils 13-2. That's not bad. And so now Vanderbilt is one of 6 teams that have already punched their ticket to the College World Series. You know what else it did to me? I said, wait a minute. Kumar Rocker. I mean, the first time I saw Rocker's name, I said, John Rocker? No, far from it. Tracy Rocker, who was the number 1 pick in the 1988 NFL Draft, was taken by the Falcons. The career didn't really pan out. Went to Auburn. So why didn't Kumar Rocker go to Auburn? I mean, Auburn is, right there, super regionals, all that, They've got a great baseball program. What about Tennessee? Tracy Rocker only is an assistant coach on the football team there. That's kind of odd, isn't it? I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's usually like, I don't know, Shirley Majors becomes the coach at Sewanee, and John Majors is the great halfback at Tennessee. That's going back a ways or something. And I believe also Shirley Majors, who's Johnny Majors' father, started coaching at University of the South, Sewanee, in 1957, which was the year after Majors graduated, if memory serves. But, a lot of times, you see it in the pros all the time because you can't really decide where you're going to play in the pros. This guy's son is playing against father or whatever. But in college, there's a reason why Jack Elway became the head coach at Stanford after John Elway had starred there. You usually get Kai and Paul Hamilton at Elon. How's that? Think about that. But instead, Rocker goes on, doesn't play at Tennessee where his father coaches, admittedly another sport, but still, it's the same athletic program. Now he goes to Vanderbilt to play baseball. Can you blame him? I mean, Tennessee's on the upswing on the diamond, don't get me wrong. Tony Vitello took the Vols to their first regionals in 14 years. Only problem was Vanderbilt's been there for 13 straight years. So, Vanderbilt on baseball has been kicking Tennessee's ass. And I really think that Kumar Rocker going to Vandy, I mean, when you consider his father's legacy at Auburn and his current employment at Tennessee, think about this. I mean, is this not the baseball equivalent of Peyton Manning shunning Ole Miss? Think about it. And it's not like, Tennessee baseball, thank goodness, is going to be going on some sort of probation that's going to get him kicked off TV, which when Manning was being courted, that was in the works. It wasn't official yet, but, Ole Miss on probation? Really? Huh? Yeah, something new. Why is Vanderbilt kicking the Vols' ass? Okay, all right, in baseball that's common knowledge. But baseball is not the only thing in an athletic program, right? Okay, fine. Football, Commodores, 5 out of 7 against Tennessee. You realize before this streak started, the Tennessee-Vanderbilt football series, the record stood 71-9-2 for Tennessee since 1928. And now Vandy's taken 5 out of 7. Well, what about hoops? I mean, Tennessee basketball school ranked number 1 for a month last year. Good point. Absolutely, yes. And Vanderbilt, they finished in last place in basketball, both men and women. But wait a minute. Wasn't it the Commodores that sent Holly Warlick, who, by the way, got a standing ovation at the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame this past weekend. More on that here in a little bit. Didn't the Lady Vols lose by, 9 points to Vandy in Knoxville? 7 points, 76-69. First time the Commodores ever beat the Lady Vols in Knoxville. That was back on February 28th, and that's basically the game that got Holly Warlick fired. Men's basketball, yeah, Tennessee, obviously. Number one for a month. Vanderbilt, they lost their last 20. But in that 20-game losing streak, what was the closest they came to victory? Taking the top-ranked Vols to overtime. And they probably beat the Vols if Grant Williams isn't so successful on his free throws. He makes 23 out of 23. Can't stop him, foul him. You got 12 players, let's use all the fouls. I once, old underman basketball strategy. When in doubt, play hockey. Okay, there you go. Now, okay, the one sport that Vanderbilt really dominates Tennessee, still, they made the regionals, so they don't stink in baseball, not like Vandy in basketball, right? That's baseball, and that's not the primary sport in a college athletics landscape. Football is number one, men's basketball is number two, and then we debate college baseball versus women's basketball. In East Tennessee, it's probably women's basketball. Other parts of the country, it's probably baseball. I'll let you decide. Yeah. But here's the deal. Vanderbilt, playing for national championships, beating the Tennessee football team, chasing the Lady Vols women's, their basketball coach. That's not supposed to happen. It hasn't historically. So what in the world is going on? I think it can easily be said here, Tennessee tends to live in the past. And Vanderbilt is looking to the future. Give you an idea, Tennessee likes to brag on their attendance figures, right? And, I listen to talk shows down in Knoxville, and admittedly, I think the talk shows down there, by and large, probably not Jimmy Himes, but by and large, they view themselves as an extension of the public relations department at Tennessee. I get the idea that if a Knoxville sports talk show host could work in the SID department of Tennessee, they'd do it in a heartbeat. They'd quit their job, and that I always thought was a little disturbing. But you always hear this, and they start we saw the Vanderbilt game. Sure, they won, but nobody was in the stands. Boy, if anyone wants Derek Mason, he'll leave, I'll bet you. And then Vandy beats Tennessee 5 out of 7 years. You win the attendance score, you don't win the score on the scoreboard. Think about that for a second. And yeah, Tennessee outdraws Vanderbilt. Everybody knows that. You don't win games, you don't get ranked on your attendance figures. And besides, in today's day and age, the windfall schools receive from the SEC network, it's TV money that have really evened up the playing field. So you're never going to have a 71-9-2 run over 82 games in the SEC anymore. And probably not even if you're talking about something like Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Tennessee, which, by the way, I think you would see the pace being on right now if you really want to go there. But regardless, you can look at the direction the athletic programs have taken. Just look at the athletic directors, okay? Now, I realize neither one have been there for as many as 2 years. But Tennessee hired Phil Fulmer, and I've talked about this a lot. Okay, old school. Sometimes that's good. He's the former coach. A name the fans will be comfortable with. But a page from the NCAA's past, when you could have a football coach, Broyles or Dooley, oversee a football program, maybe even Dickey, although, that was removed, and they oversaw the athletic programs. And how'd that go after a while at Georgia and Arkansas? Yeah. Now, outside of Fulmer and Wisconsin's Barry Alvarez, who took over the Badgers athletic program in 2004, there aren't any other athletic directors in major college football. In fact, there aren't any in D1 that are known for basically being a football coach that are an athletic director. There are some, I've said this, I think you'd recognize Lynn Swann for being a receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers before you'd recognize him as Southern California's athletic director. There was some talk that he was going to be in a lot of hot water after, the Lori Loughlin, Felicity Huffman academic cheating scandal. What's going on. These people, they never played on the crew team. They've never rowed a boat in their life and all that, but Lynn Swann kept his job. So, Southern California likes to do that. Pat Hayden was the athletic director before Swann. Mike Garrett, a former star, usually football player. I think it's always been football player, in fact, that leads the athletic program, who has had success outside of just, running the ball, let's say. So, Southern California does it their own way to whatever degree of success you want to talk about. And then you have over here Sacred Heart. Bobby Valentine's our athletic director. Yeah, the former Mets manager, Rangers manager. Outside of that, who you got that isn't an athletic director who's known for being an athletic director? I mean, some of them may have been coaches before. Kansas's Jeff Long was an assistant football coach at North Carolina. You didn't know that until I told him. Scott Carter over at ETSU. Okay, he used to play football at ETSU, but he's best known for he was never the leading rusher. He's best known for being the athletic director at ETSU. You know that. If not, when the football program was dropped being the henchman for Tim and David Mullins, and, when they wanted to take the signs away from students who protested the move, saying, why don't you bring in signs that say, we love football? Scott Carter actually said that. Yeah, bring in signs to a basketball game that say, we love football, instead of criticism for the move of dropping the ETSU football program. They made this guy the athletic director down there. Well, all right. Wasn't the best moment in ETSU history. Anyway, okay, Phil Fulmer, former coach. Not the way that modern athletics are going, but that's what Tennessee hires. Who does Vanderbilt hire? Malcolm Turner, the former G League president. In a changing athletic landscape where men's basketball players can take the money out of high school, be it the G League, be it overseas, Turner would seem to be the sort of person college athletics needs to be learning from to grow. And even the two basketball coaching hires that these two men have made in recent times reflect this. Okay, Fulmer hires Kelly Harper to replace Holly Warlick to coach the women's basketball team. Okay, hire was as much based upon playing the point during the Lady Vols three-peat from 96-98 as for taking Missouri State to the Sweet 16 last year. Turner hires Jerry Stackhouse to coach the men. Now, like Turner, Stackhouse is Harvard educated. Additionally, he's part of the new breed of college coach. Patrick Ewing, Juwan Howard, Penny Hardaway, bringing an NBA resume and know-how to their school. Actually going from a higher level. And former NBA coach, former mid-major coach. You tell me. Now, when Harper was hired, Evina Westbrook and Mimi Collins were two best players left. When Stackhouse was hired, Scottie Pippen Jr. and Kenyon Martin Jr. came to Vanderbilt. Now look, Phil Fulmer will tell you himself, I was hired to resurrect the football program, okay? That's why Jim Caldwell was hired as the offensive coordinator, lured him from Georgia, gave him more money than an offensive coordinator has ever made in college football history. And you know what? He's going to make more than double the salary of Kelly Harper, the women's basketball coach of the Lady Vols. Now then, think about that for a second. Harper is not paid to what her peers are among elite college basketball, women's college basketball schools. Now, I will admit, Vandy, Tennessee this year, if you ask me right now, put a gun to my head who I'm going to choose to win, Tennessee. we'll have to wait and see to the end of November. But, if Indy doesn't have Kyle Shermer, they got to play the game in Knoxville for whatever that's worth. They've won there before, but, the Vols would figure to be the bet to win. But Vanderbilt is the program thinking more to the future than the past, which is why the Commodores baseball team is competing for a national title with the son of a Vols coach leading the way. And it can be argued that for the first time ever, or really in modern history, I guess we could go back to the 20s or something, Vanderbilt just might have the superior athletic program to Tennessee. How did this happen? How did the Braves come back last afternoon to move within one game of first place Philadelphia? Modern baseball strategy, and I don't mean that in a good way. Tri-City Sports Now coming back after this.